Plato was a famous thinker from Greece who lived 2,400 years ago. He was one of the most influential philosophers in Western thought. He was a student of Socrates and the teacher of Aristotle. Plato started a school called the Academy, where he taught people about big ideas like truth, justice, and knowledge. His ideas, including the theory of forms, theory of souls, and his vision of an ideal society, are still important today. Let us learn about Plato's views on four key ideas. Theory of forms. Theory of the soul. Political philosophy. Learning and knowledge. 1. Plato's theory of forms. Plato believed that the world we see is not the real world. He thought there was a perfect world with perfect ideas called forms. For example, when we see something beautiful, it is just an imperfect copy of the perfect beauty that exists in another world. He said everything in our world is just a shadow of the real, perfect things in the world of forms. Similarly, justice, equality, likeness, and goodness have their ideal forms. Plato argued that knowledge is not derived from empirical observation but from rational insight. Empirical observation means learning things by using your senses, like seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, or smelling. For example, if you taste a lemon and find out it's sour, that's empirical observation because you're using your sense of taste to learn about it. Rational insight is when you understand something by thinking carefully and using logic, instead of relying on what you see, hear, or touch. Plato believed that the most important truths, like fairness or beauty, don't come from what we see or touch, but from deep thinking and reasoning. This thinking or epistemological stance opposes him to thinkers who believe sensory experience is the best way to gain knowledge. Let us look at a real-world example. Imagine you see a beautiful flower. You might think, this flower is so beautiful. But according to Plato, the flower is not true beauty, it's only an imperfect copy of the form of beauty. The form of beauty is eternal and unchanging, it never fades, unlike the flower. Everything we call beautiful in the world shares a piece of the perfect beauty form. Plato believed that before we were born, our souls existed in the realm of forms and saw true beauty. When we see something beautiful in this world, it reminds us of the perfect form of beauty we once knew. That's how we recognize something as beautiful. The cave story. Plato tells about the allegory of the cave in his dialogue in the Republic to explain his ideas. In this thought experiment, prisoners are confined to a cave from birth, only able to see shadows projected on a wall. These shadows, cast by objects behind them, represent the empirical world, a mere illusion of reality. One prisoner escapes, ventures outside, and experiences true reality illuminated by the sun, which represents the form of the good. When he returns to free the others, they resist, preferring the familiar shadows over the difficult path to enlightenment. Plato used this story to say that most people only see a small part of the truth, like the shadows in the cave, and that most people live in ignorance, mistaking appearances for reality. He believed that wise people like philosophers should help others see the real truth. 2. Plato on the theory of soul. The soul exists before birth, lives in the body, and continues after death. The soul never dies. It existed in a perfect, spiritual world before being born into a human body. After death, it returns to that world. Plato said the soul is divided into 3 parts, and each part has a different job. Reason, logistikon, this part thinks and helps us make wise decisions. It should guide the other parts. Spirit, thymoides, this part gives us courage, emotions, and the drive to stand up for what's right. Desire, epithematikon, this part deals with wants and needs, like hunger, comfort, and pleasure. Plato believed a just and good person keeps these 3 parts working together in balance, with reason in control. Plato believed that before birth, the soul knew perfect knowledge, called forms or ideas. When we are born, we forget this knowledge, but through learning and philosophy, we can remember it. Plato's chariot analogy. Plato described the soul as a chariot being pulled by 2 horses. One horse is desire, wants and needs. The other horse is spirit, emotions and courage. The charioteer is reason, which must guide and balance the horses to keep the soul on the right path. 3. Plato's political philosophy, the ideal state. In his dialogue, The Republic, Plato critiques democracy by saying that people often make bad choices when picking leaders. He said that governance should not be decided by the majority of people because they are often swayed by emotion rather than reason. Instead, he believed that the smartest and wisest people, called philosopher kings, should rule the country. These individuals have gained true knowledge and are best equipped to govern justly. Plato envisions a tripartite society just like three parts of the soul. Rulers, philosopher kings, representing reason, they possess wisdom and should govern. Auxiliaries, warriors, representing courage, they enforce laws and defend the state. Producers, farmers, artisans, and merchants, representing appetite, they sustain the economy but do not participate in governance. Plato thought justice arises when each class performs its designated role in harmony, without interfering with the functions of the others. He believed this was the best way to make sure everyone was treated fairly and society was peaceful. For Plato on learning and knowledge. Plato believed that just looking at things or listening to others is not enough to find the truth. He said that true knowledge comes from thinking deeply and using reason. Plato distinguishes between opinion, doxa, and knowledge, episteme, arguing that true knowledge can only be attained through reasoning and inquiry. He started a school called Academy in Athens where people could learn to think and ask big questions about life, justice, and the world. Fun fact: the word academic comes from the name Academy. The Academy was a famous school in ancient Greece, founded by the philosopher Plato around 385 BCE. The word academy comes from the Greek word akademia, which was the name of the grove where Plato taught. It was located in a grove of trees outside Athens, called the Lacedaemon Grove, named after a man named Academus. Over time, academic came to mean anything related to education, learning, or schools, especially higher learning like universities. To conclude, Plato was a thinker who taught people to question the world around them. He believed in searching for truth, fairness, and wisdom. His ideas still help us think about important things like government, education, and reality. Even though he lived long ago, his ideas continue to shape how we understand the world. If you found this video helpful, smash that like button, subscribe and click the bell icon so you never miss a video, and share this with someone interested in learning. We hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as we did making it. Comment below with any topic you want simplified and we will simplify it for you. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe.